What's up, love bug? It's your favorite queen of hearts, Lily out to the IP. Yes. And I am joined by a very new face to me, a new face to my audience, but maybe to the world. Y'all might have seen her around. So I'm gonna allow her to go ahead and introduce herself.
Hey everybody, my name is Tyesha Jones. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Texas, New York, and Florida. I also do supervision with upcoming licensed social workers in the field in the state of Texas as well.
She's on your accolades. You got a
Thank you.
tri-state certification going on. I love that.
I try, I
I love
try.
that. No, that's pretty dope. Thank you for joining me on the show, first of all, because I'm always looking for fresh voices, fresh faces. And I see the things you post, and I'm like, she's so therapeutic. And I could tell you have like a natural passion about certain things based on what I see you share on Instagram. And when I hit you up and I asked you to do this with me, I said, what are you passionate about? And you sent me a bullet list of things. And I just want to share what they are because audience, when y'all hear this, if there's something that resonates, put it below. Are you open to doing a part two, Taisha?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So she said some of the things she's passionate about is power of a choice or mental health. That's the name of her private practice. But the passion is in supporting people and helping them regain or find their power to navigate their own lives. You also mentioned adult friendships, family dynamics when relocating by yourself, breaking chains, and that kind of plays into the family dynamics. Strong Black women narrative, the threat of being a hustler, independent and confident. I really love that. And then also finances, financial trauma, anxiety, literacy, household dynamics, and women being a breadwinner. And I know there's a couple of things we could touch on just based on your list there. But what I chose to go with, probably because it resonates with me now more than ever, was the family dynamics when relocating and friendships and things like that. So, do
Yeah.
you have anything you want to say to start us off in that conversation, or should I just jump into my inquisitive nature?
You can jump in. Only thing I would say is I think for the same reasons probably that it resonates with you is the same reason why it resonates with me, being someone who migrated as an adult, just navigating and I've learned so much. So it's definitely something that comes up in a lot of the conversations that I have with my friends, with my family, with my colleagues, with other professionals in the field. A lot of people have migrated to Houston, Texas. That's where I'm at now. And so I think that was really why I think that one really stuck out to me too.
How long ago did you relocate?
I moved to Houston in August of 2018, so a little over 7 years ago.
Were you born and raised in New York?
No, so I was actually born in Germany. My dad was in the military. He was in the army, yes. And my mom, where I grew up in Utica, my mom was born there, and her family is from there. Well, my family, of course, but that's where my mom was born. She wasn't raised there mainly, but relocated back there after we returned from Germany. My grandparents had moved back to Utica as well, so my mother moved us to Utica, and so most of my life has been spent in Utica.
Oh, so around and relocating is not new to you.
Not new, but wasn't familiar, if that makes sense. Because I only know and remember living in Utica, right? I don't remember anything before that. My parents met in New Jersey. That's where they both grew up. And I spent a lot of like summers and vacations there, visiting my dad and his side of the family. But other than that, it was pretty much Utica until I left Utica and went to Albany for college.
No. When you moved to Texas 7 years ago, you went by yourself, but you have family there.
So I have family here, yes, and that was like one of the things. I had only been to Houston one time. I came down with a former friend. We visited, both wanting to relocate. And one of the things I heard about Houston was that it was so big, the traffic was so heavy, it was so crowded, and I said, where I live, we could get through, where I was at, well, I was in Albany at the time, we can get through Albany, pretty quickly and pretty swiftly. So I was like, I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment for me. So I came down for a week and I literally just went out every day and did things and kind of, got on the highways and things like that. And I think that made me say, okay, if you're going to do this, you just got to be able to accept that this is a part of your life now. And so I came in April 2018 to visit, and I drove down with a friend who drove with me, and then she flew back in August.
Think there's a difference between because I relocated probably about 2 years ago
Mhm,
and I was by myself. Like I came to a town where nobody knew my name. Like
mhm.
I was literally brand new. Um and I wanted to know for you, for someone who made the transition and had the support of family, do you think there's something to be said either way? If somebody is relocating, do you recommend that they go somewhere where there's already familiarity in terms of spaces and faces? Or do you think if you're trying to start anew and be a trailblazer, a change maker, as you mentioned in one of your statements, that maybe just going and making the adjustment by yourself can be more impactful? What's your thoughts?
So I will say that I think maybe just going and, figuring it out by yourself. I will add this part in. So I have two family members who are not too far. Well, now three. I'm sorry. I have a cousin who moved down here as well. Who are not too far. I think the biggest thing about my experience is that just because family is close, you don't always see them or connect with them. Right. And so that was something that I had was like a hard pill for me to swallow. My aunt was nice enough to let me stay with her when I first moved down for a couple months. So that was helpful, right? Like, just basically not having to stress about moving so far and having to figure that all out. So that was very, very helpful. And I appreciate her so much for that. But because Houston is so big, I don't see her often. She lives like 45 minutes away from me because of traffic and stuff. So I think that I've experienced both sides of that coin that you're asking about, just basically kind of coming here, trying to figure it out, and just navigating the world and making new connections. But I did choose Texas because I have family here. So I'm not too far. Being that I'm so far away from home, I'm not too far away from family if there was something to happen. And I have had the opportunity, unfortunately, to try that out. I've had to have, a family member, come to my aid for something, and I appreciate that as well. To be able to have the opportunity.
Is it fair to say that you didn't have to deal with loneliness because you had family around you, or was that still something that impacted you in some way, shape, or form?
Oh no, it definitely impacted me. I'll say that this COVID came right after, like not too far after I moved down here. And that really tested me. That made me that really like that was like I think God laughing in my face. So I always used to say, like, oh yeah, I'm fine living by myself. I've always lived by myself, or I live with friends and we had our own lives and things like that. But during COVID, it was literally just me. And it was like I worked in a hospital, so I was going to work. I was coming home, stripping out, getting showered, and I was on my couch eating dinner by like 5, 6 o'clock. So that really showed me that there was this level of like, you are really by yourself. Like, you are really by yourself. And it challenged me because I used to tell myself that because I lived alone or whatever, I was okay being by myself. But then I realized when I moved here that I wasn't by myself. Like I lived alone, but I was at happy hour with my friends. I was going out and doing things and going places. I was always on the go. And so moving here, I didn't travel as much because of course you make a big move like that. There's a financial impact. And then COVID hit. And so a lot of things were shut down. There wasn't a lot of, going out and doing things for a while. So that really made me sit with myself and really say, okay, it is a little lonely down here where you are a little by yourself.
Going out with your friends and happy hour and stuff. And I think about people who are relocating at our big adult age and they have established, their sense of security in their social circles in their hometown. But then when you move somewhere else, did you try to establish a new community of people or did you kind of stick with what you already know and then allowed your circle to organically expand out from that?
I think it was the second one. So I think I tell people all the time that I'm a non-people person. I don't I think I just have this natural, welcoming, aura and personality. So I honestly, for me, it just organically happened. There, when I first moved here, I had a colleague who were like, oh, try Bumble, for friends. Try there's an events and Avengers, I think it's called, where you can like go and do things that you like to do and then have other people who are trying to make connections. And there's so many other things out there now where you can, do social things and connect. But I just, I came in. Honestly, I will say, I'm gonna be honest and tell you that I wasn't necessarily as open as I could have been. Because of the transition, moving here, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to adapt to, being away from what I once knew. But also just not really wanting to initially open up to doing those things with new people. So I was more so like grasping out for my friends and my family to come visit more than I was with like trying to do things here. And I was always on a go. I was like, I didn't do things here. I would go and be like, oh, let's take this trip, or let me go back home, or, whatever the case may be, instead of like, let me explore Houston for what it is and make connections with people who are right here.
I'll circle back to you saying you was reaching out to family and friends to bring in a piece of home to your new place of residence.
Hmm.
That hoping and wishing and knowing and expecting them to know that you needed a little piece of home to come join you, or was that asking and saying, hey, I need you, I want your presence, can you please come see me? What did that look like?
I think it was an expectation that I had that was unspoken. That like, okay, I'm moving. Those are my people. They should come and see me. I think that like when my first apartment, I was like, oh, I'm gonna give me a two-bedroom because I'm gonna have guests. Like they gotta have somewhere to sleep. And then I don't know if it was my mom or somebody was like, get what works for you. Like don't no, don't do these things to accommodate people who are not a constant. But in my head, because I have a very large social circle back home. I have friends from pre-K. I have my college friends, my colleague friends that turn, from work, my work jobs that turned into friends. And so I was just like, yeah, everybody gonna be here. I'm in Houston, me casa and two casa, come on down. But it wasn't that. Not that people didn't visit. I did have people. I had people come visit very quickly. But it's not something that I have to plan for or accommodate for. We got to make it work like we did anywhere else, and just kind of plan. So I don't know if people necessarily knew that I was reaching out for that sense of connectivity. And I wasn't necessarily saying it. I don't know if I knew it either. I knew I was alone. I knew I had to navigate. I knew I made this choice. But I wasn't necessarily sure that I was making it known that I was wanted their presence instead of, others.
Naturally, because they love you.
Just because you love me, just come on down. Yeah.
I like that for you. I love that for you, actually. One of my other questions I was going to ask, like, would you say that your definition of home changed after you moved? Like, what does Texas feel like home? And how do you define home? Like, have you settled in? How long did it take you to get settled in?
Mhm.
Was the people visiting you, like the home away from home? Like, how did you?
So I will say that yes, it feels like home because when I go home or go anywhere to visit, I yearn to be back here in my space. Okay, like I am like I tell people all the time, like I'm the person that says, "Yep, we can go," but I'm ready to go home. Like, I'm gonna be ready to go home. And it's not that I'm not, and I'm present, having fun, but I'm definitely thinking about when I'm be able to get back into my own space. And I feel like your home is your sanctuary, it's your place of peace. So that's what I define as home, something peaceful, something, relaxing, something calm, your own, what you make of it. So I will definitely say that my definition of home absolutely changed because even though Utica is my hometown and Albany is my second home from being there for so long with undergrad, grad, and working and stuff like that, um, it doesn't necessarily feel like my home.
Hmm, I like it. So you adapted to your environment and you made it what you needed it to be for comfort and peace.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. You decided that you were going to move and then you announced that you were going to move. Would you say you met any form of resistance from family and friends? Did you feel supported in the sense that, oh, Taisha's going away? Or what was that like for you when you made the announcement, like, this is what I'm doing?
So I had always talked about moving, and I had mentioned that I was gonna try to move right after grad school. I graduated from grad school and then I moved a year later. And initially I wanted to try to plan to move, and I was thinking about Charlotte or Atlanta. I had always said that from years before. But then I went and visited both of them, and even though I like them, it's still too cold. Even though I'm from New York, like the winters is too cold. I went to both in the winter season, and I was just like, if I'm gonna move, I need to go somewhere where it's a little warm, or I could just stay in New York, kind of thing. But I did reach not resistance in a sense of like don't go, but my mom didn't believe me. She didn't believe I was going. She kept saying, "You're not moving." I'm like, "Yes, I am, girl. I'm leaving." And she like, And it wasn't until my lease was up in my apartment and I didn't renew it, and I moved in with a friend for that summer. I had a friend, the friend who actually drove down with me. She let me stay with her for a couple months, and that's when I think my mom was like, "She really doing this? She is really doing this." And then I packed that car up and um but I know a lot of people always ask me, like, when you coming home? When you gonna come back and visit? Because they want to see me. But I don't know that people understand what that entails, and what it takes out of me. I have to plan, I have to book flights, I have to take off work, I have to, all the things that like when I'm visiting, they get to, business as usual for them. Their routine is their routine. So it's very hard for me and people always say like you're never not on a plane. I used to never not be on a plane. I was always somewhere, but I think the last couple years I've tried to slow that down and I've done a good job at that. Um, but the visits haven't increased. So, it's not a bad thing because I know everybody has their life, but this is my life. My home is here in Houston, my life is here in Houston. So yeah, it's a little difficult. Sometimes I don't believe that I'm still living in Houston though. 7 years later, almost 8 years, I'm like, this really, I did this. I did all of this.
You said something that resonated, like when you coming to visit, the pressure is like, oh, when you coming home, when you coming home. Or next time you here, let me know. Identify with that because, like you said, there's a lot of logistics that go back to home. We don't have a place to stay. So now I have to
Hmm.
find lodging. I want to
Hmm.
be able to get around and move about. So now I need transportation, right?
Yeah.
That's going to cost me. So getting there, airfare, being able to get around, rental car, staying somewhere, hotel, like it's expensive. And all these people expect you to come visit them. Like, why
Hmm.
didn't you come visit? Why should you when you're leaving home, you're leaving a group of people that you haven't went to, moved to. So it's like there's so many people that I love that y'all want to see me, but I don't think they take into consideration how much that could take out of a person where the hustle and bustle. When I go home, I'm tired. I'm
Hmm.
tired when I return, and like I don't want to do anything else. I feel like I'm always on edge. I just got to be here, there, and everywhere, and I don't like that. So, and I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that. So yeah,
Well, and the thing
this
is
is
too
okay.
that 9 times out of 10 when I go home, I'm going home for something, right? Whether it's to, I just recently went home in September. My brother had a baby shower, welcome my new baby niece, and I went home for that, right? So it was, a very short trip. I wasn't there that long, maybe 4 days, and you're right. Everybody wants to, oh, come by. I'm not gonna be doing nothing. Oh, and I'm not. I can't. I have my friends at home are really good about trying to get all in one place. Like, oh, let's meet at this person's house, but then I have a couple of different, external friends and things like that that it's like, oh, come by. And it's like, and I'm like, I'm be at my mom's house. If y'all want to come by. She's more than willing to have y'all for a little bit. But it's, and then my mom, my grandma, I have a big family there. I have cousins that I'm close to. I can't see everybody. I can't see everybody, but it's still that level of connection. Thank God for FaceTime and things like that because that's how I keep that line of communication open. That's another reason why I have social media. I was off Instagram for like 2 years I was going on a 30-day break and just never found the urge to get back on. And here it is 2 years later. I'm like, oh wow. Um, my Facebook, I kept it for a long time because I can connect with family, see how they're doing, get updates that way. And then I left that and went back. I made a new one for business, so it's like these are the ways that we stay connected. And I think if I didn't, I probably would be even more, disconnected from people. But when I see them, it's like no time has passed.
I like that. So when you decided that you were going to change your location and move away, was that different from the people you were, connected to, whether it be family or friends? And if so, did that change? Like, was it well received? I know you said before you didn't meet any resistance, there was just a surprise, but you talked about being a change maker. I guess, in
Mhm.
what way were you a change maker, and how did the people who know Tyesha prior to her relocation adjust to your now new change of a pace
Running
or
change.
environment?
Um, a lot of people say they don't know how I do it or how I did it. Moving down here. Like I said, I have family nearby, but I don't see them, often enough to say like, "Oh yeah, I moved down here and relocated because of family." But a lot of people are like, my brother, I have a brother. He's like, "Yo, you are like an inspiration." He said, "I don't think I could ever move to a new city, not know nobody, and by myself. Like I just wouldn't do it." Um, and the things that I've done since I've been here, like when I say change, like the things, like even have my own private practice, that was never in the plans. When I say never in the plans, like I was against it. I'm like, that's just not my lane. It's not something, and it's not something I necessarily chose when the time came. It was something I had to do, right? Like it was a decision I had to make for myself, as far as my growth. But like even coming here, I bought a house 2 years after I moved here. That was never a discussion, right? Like, and not to say that I wasn't planning for my future, but it's just like that was another thing. My mom, I called her. I was going out looking for apartments, and I called her, and I literally put my house was like just finished build when I came to see it, and it was like I FaceTimed her and turned the camera on. She was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "This is my house, right? Speaking into existence, my house." And she was like, "You were supposed to be going to find an apartment, like." So I think people just being they were shocked that I was, you know, actually taking the step. Not, and I don't think it's because they didn't believe in me, but I think it's because they just, it's something that we, didn't really talk about a lot and didn't really like plan for.
I love that you said that things began to evolve for you naturally. You didn't plan to buy a house. You didn't plan to open your private practice. Do you think that your horizons would have broadened had you not moved? Like if you would have stayed in upstate New York, do you think these same things would have happened for you, or was there a newness or a renewed sense of purpose for you once you relocated?
I definitely think they would have eventually happened, but not as fast as they did. As far as my career, I think what I did when I was in New York, I actually did for a little while when I first moved down here. I was a therapist in a residential treatment facility. And I thought that that was going to be my life. I thought I was going to work my way up into like a leadership position in that setting. I thought that was what I was passionate about. But I quickly learned once I moved here and worked at a facility here that that wasn't for me. And so I was able to, venture out and I started working in healthcare with social work. And that's how the private practice thing came into play. Because I thought I was always just going to be a therapist in a setting, in an organization or for a company. So like even those things, like because those things were not something that I was like talking about or manifesting, people were like, you what? You have your own practice? What? Like, oh my gosh. Um, but I think that I would have definitely been more content with my life because I thought I loved my life in Albany. I was like, oh, while I'm young, while I'm single, let me do this. And I told myself, I'm gonna move for a year. If things aren't moving for me the way that I think they should be in a year, I know my way back home. And so year turned into 7. So like I'm blessed. I'm really grateful that, and I think I pushed myself, to there wasn't a time where I was like, I'm just pack myself up and move back home. I haven't experienced that. So
Home will always be there. That's one thing I said is that life should be about experiences, right? Because the constants are the constants. The
mhm,
constants will usually don't change and don't like for instance, my sister, my cousins, first cousins, we just went to Mexico for a few days. And I was like, we did something that our parents didn't do. Either they didn't want to, didn't have the
mhm,
desire to, or just maybe didn't have the resources. And I was like, I love this for us. Where them, I said this to my aunt. She was like, well, we never wanted to. We were content just going to each other's houses, spending time with each other, playing cards, just enjoying each other's company. And I'm like, but we're of the generation where we're exposed to more, and now we want to see more. We want to do more. Maybe because they didn't have social media, so you couldn't see
mhm.
what the
See,
beaches in
yeah,
Tahiti look like.
yeah.
You couldn't see the beautiful waters of Turks and Caicos, so there wasn't a aspiration or inspiration to do so. But for us, we're moving and grooving and just forging our own paths. And I love that for our generation of people who are just moving about the cabin in a way that we want. My question for you is during your transition, throughout your transition, and within your transition, was there anything that surprised even you, specifically emotionally, not just logistically about what you did, but was there any emotions that you battled outside of loneliness? Was there ever any fear, any doubt, any concern, things like that?
Um, no. I literally had to take that in what you were saying. And no, I don't. One thing I will say is when I decided that I was gonna move, I really had to find, not that I have lost my, direction or anything, but I really had to regain a level of faith that I had didn't realize that I had, kind of lost or let go of. So that you go for a year, and if it's not working, go back. That gave me the permission. That gave me the permission to like take it head on and experience it for all it was. Because, like you said, I'm a person that's like I am an experiencer. I'm a strong believer in all those cliches. Everything happens for a reason. This too shall pass. Like I am very heavy on all of those things, because life I think I don't life doesn't happen to you in those ways, right? Like unless you allow it to. So there's things that I've experienced since I moved here that I didn't imagine, both positive and negative, but I was just like, okay, let me sit in this. Now, some of those sitting in it last way longer than others. And I've had to, tell my family and friends, like, hey, I'm not going to be as present. I'm not going to be as vocal, or them just knowing, like, hey, I'm going through it, them giving me that grace. Because one thing I was going to say earlier is that I am truly a people pleaser when it comes to my loved ones. So that's challenging myself to show up for everything or be there, or all those things. That's something that I'm battling myself and like challenging myself to kind of change and give myself permission to change, because they're not requiring this of me. Like that I've introduced this person to them. So I definitely don't think I had any fears, doubts, or anything like that. I've always just I've been a hustler, work, and navigate things the ways that I can.
I like that about you. And I know I got more questions for you, but I know you're a busy woman. You got your own practice, but I do. If you could just bear with me for a moment, when
Mhm.
you made this transition, right? You know how they say out with the old, in with the new. How did you discern who can go with you in this new journey versus maybe some things had outgrown and you had to leave them where they were, or did you even face that?
Um, Interestingly enough, I did face that. I navigated it by the experience of it. I actually did lose a friendship when I first moved down here, and then just even recently last year, I had some challenges in my friend group, my adult friend group, I would say, because the friend that I lost when I first moved down here was a friend from home, and then I've also navigated through the dynamics of trying to be adult friends and learning each other, but also being very close and distant. It's like all those dynamics. So I navigated that by the experience of it. I didn't see it coming. I didn't want it to happen, but I had to deal with it, and at those times, I had to tell myself like, okay, for your own well-being, you can't, welcome this into your space, mentally, physically, emotionally, because I am such a selfless person. It takes a lot for me to get there, but I'm learning still, who to kind of be like, all right, you good over there. You're very good over there.
And oddly enough, in my big grown age, right? And in the space that I'm in now, 2 years into my transition, I think I'm starting to evaluate that. Like you said, being selfless and showing up and what matters and how to be supportive and loving and caring and show that through action
Mhm.
and then evaluating if you're receiving that in return and what that
Yeah.
looks like and how it makes me feel and whether it's
Hmm.
worth it. But I
Hmm.
know feelings are fleeting, it ebbs and it flows. So not making a hasty decision, but
Right.
also sitting with it long enough to really process like, is this beneficial to me and where I
Hmm.
want to go? Question for you. Um, you're growing, glowing, and
Thank you.
you keeping on going. And I love that. I'm so proud of you and kudos to
Thank
you.
you.
If you could title this season of your life, what would you call it?
Ooh, um, reconstruction.
Reconstruction.
Reconstruction. I am reconstructing my life. I'm working through and trying to make a lot of changes for me. And of course those things are going to impact the people around me. But challenge myself to, like I said, be open to still one of the things, and I think I want to throw this in, like I'm saying, you posted the other day about your neighbors inviting you. Um, I loved it because that's how I feel, right? I might have experienced these things, and navigating adult friendships are hard, but I'm still open, right? I'm still open. I make connections, and in those connections, I have to challenge myself because everybody don't get the same level of everything, right? Which I've been known, right? Like I have different friends for different seasons, reasons, whatever. But I'm still open, but then challenging myself to not be giving all of me because in certain aspects, right, I don't need to do that for my well-being. So I'm reconstructing. I'm trying to, I'm trying to get some things in line for myself. I had some goals for myself that I want to accomplish by next year, and so I got to get down and lock in.
Oh, well, you're my idol. I'll probably be calling you on the side, like, can you tell me what about this? Because I feel like I'm under construction, I'm renovating, I'm
Mhm.
also evaluating what I want this next phase of my life to look like. I want
Right.
the freedom of flexibility now. I don't
Yes.
want to be
Ooh.
working a 9 to 5. I want to be able to do my Zoom call or help somebody over and be somewhere else experience. As soon as I get off, I might be going to have lunch and in a little village somewhere with people I've never met.
Man, right.
I just know we only get one shot at this thing called life, and I want to be able to enjoy it as much as we can. And I think you said a lot. If you had to sum up this segment and your experience, what would you leave the audience with?
Um, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So if you're thinking about relocating, if you're thinking about buying property, if you're thinking about, going out making new friends or trying new activity, do it. Plan. It don't have to be perfect. I done planned a lot of things, and some things have worked out and some things was just like, haha, not gonna happen. And I, just reroute, change some things around. But yeah, that's what I want people to, and that, that goes to the first topic you mentioned, right? Like just kind of getting back aligned with ourselves and figuring out for ourselves and making those choices for ourselves. So do that thing.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think we already did the hard step, right? By doing it, by making
Hmm.
the move, by
Hmm.
just going. And a lot of times we need to know who we need to leave behind and who we could bring with us. And
Hmm.
sometimes holding on to the old for comfort doesn't allow us to really grow. Sometimes you have to relinquish in order to flourish. And too many
Absolutely.
times we try to sit in bad soil and think that we're going to bloom and blossom. And
Hello. That's a word. Yes.
Well,
Well, thank
Tyesha,
you so
thank you so
much.
much for joining me on
Of course.
Sentimentally Speaking. To our viewers, we know y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all chose to be here with me and Tyesha. And
Thank
like I said,
y'all.
comment below. Yeah, tell us what you liked about the segment. Tell us, is there anything that we spoke about that you would like us to dive deeper in? She is a licensed clinical social worker. She got those credentials. She could talk her talk. Like, I would love to have her back just to even tap into the mental health stuff that you
Mhm.
are so expertly dealing with on a daily basis. So, again, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.